Thrilled to have in studio with us two fantastic gentlemen. And boy, oh boy, you do make me laugh, the two of you.
Three fantastic
Well,
gentlemen.
I was going to add you. So, of course, we've got the one and only Jake Thomas, who is the comedy in my life.
Thank you very much. I'm here till Tuesday.
Go ahead. You got to do your South Park. Just do it for us. Go.
Come on, buddy. Let's do some radio, buddy. Sweet, buddy. Radio, over to you, Aaron. Live in the chat.
And we, of course, have Colin and Justin. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Ooh, thanks for having us. Gorgeousness.
I have no idea where the heck this is going to go, but boy, oh boy, just hang on, everybody, and we're going to take you for a little ride. You really have an amazing beginning where it all started. Maybe you can tell us more.
Well, I guess our career in television started the best part of 16, 17 years ago in Britain.
Okay, so that's substantial.
Yeah, it's a little while ago. And we started in kind of magazines and local newspapers, and then we moved into national magazines and national newspapers, and then slowly, via osmosis, we ended up with our own TV show in Britain. And we've done a host of shows that range from property to travel to food to leisure. And we love what we do. We have a really good time doing what we do. And then...
Yeah, I don't see that.
No, we try and keep it really low key.
Just not seeing it, feeling
Sometimes
it.
you got to keep it a little bit secret. But then, bizarrely, like 6 years ago, we had an opportunity to come to Canada on a promotional tour to talk about one of our British shows, The £1 Million Property Experiment, which was showing at that time on HGTV. And to cut a long story short, we met the Vice President of Content, a woman called Anna Jeason at HGTV, and she was like, well, boys, it's all very well showing your previous shows, but we should do some brand new programming. And we formatted on the spot over coffee in the Direct Energy Centre, a home show. And before we knew it, we had a green light for a TV show in Canada, and that was called Home Heist.
Well, brilliant, because you know what? I'm going to say this for everybody, because you're so loved here, and we love you.
We're
and more
very
importantly,
lovable.
You are very lovable, but
are.
I'm going to call you Canadian.
You'll get your badge, fellas, after we go for a snowmobile ride and drink maple whiskey.
Oh, well, we understand that the Canadian government have a 2 out, 2 in policy, and if we actually become like proper Canadian citizens, it means that you lose Renee and Celine. They have to leave.
You're in.
We're good with that. We might be able to throw a few politicians on that bus as well.
Well,
Pass them
exactly.
on.
Do you know, I think we're on a bit of a voyage of Canadianness. You know, like we've been Newfified. Like we've kissed a cod and we've been screeched, you know, so we've done our little Newfie thing. And, you know, as you say, the whole kind of like cottage country thing really has sealed the deal in us being proper Canadians.
But you also got to feel a little at home here, guys, because there's a substantial English, Scottish, Irish, you know, population here. And you can't travel anywhere, you two, I know it, where they're not coming up to you, making sure you're eating well, you know, that you're looking after yourself, because that's, you know, that's just the way we are, right? And you know, you're like their boys, I'm just saying, right?
But it's so nice, you know, we actually, across Canada, we do meet some fantastic Scottish grandmothers who say, hey, hello there, Colin and Justin, how you getting on? You all right, son? And
then you think they just got here.
Yeah, you just arrived from Scotland. I came in 1952. You know, so it's weird though, you go to another country, but you strangely become more patriotic, you know, and I think people do hold on to their individual identities. That is the thing about Canada. You know, it is like a cultural mosaic.
It's a melting pot.
Well, no, it's a mosaic more than a melting pot. You get to retain your shape and your colour, but you fit into a bigger picture.
Oh, that's really pretty.
That's deep.
That is deep. Actually, it was the last mayor of Toronto who said that, David Miller. It's famous as his quote. I quote him.
It's really nice,
I give
though.
props where props are due.
So do you boys think, though, that Canadians are truly that polite and lovable?
I've got to say, listen, we have a real attachment to this country already, and Canada, to be somber for a moment, has made us incredibly welcome and has made us feel a really instant part of the community. You guys are friendly and you are polite, but you don't take any prisoners and put you behind the wheel of a car and you become something altogether. Move out of the way, mister! Oh, you meek and mild and beautifully mannered. No,
We
guys,
call that road rage.
Yeah, road rage. I mean, it's road fervour in Canada.
Skill. It's an acquired skill.
I mean, we just love it here. We just love the fact that you live in a brilliant country. You know that. You don't need us to sell it to you, but we love your climate. We love your really biting winters. Maybe not this one so much that's lasting forever, but generally we love that. We love your gorgeous boiling summers, your beautifully visual red autumnal falls. All of that stuff is great. And we never ever expected, I mean, we're in our mid-40s, but we never expected when we were teenagers that we would ever come to live in Canada. And I've known Colin since I was 18. Prophetically, the very first apartment we bought in Glasgow in Scotland when we were 20 and 21 was in a building called Canada Court. And at that point we're like, yeah, Canada, that's that country next to America. It's got a big tower or something, hasn't it? Who knew? You know, spool forward 24 years and we were living here.
That's okay. People still think we live in igloos, so
Oh, yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
we
It's
won't
cold
hold it
over there,
against
eh?
you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Fellas, I understand you've got some real estate history that we talked about before the show. So maybe explain to us how you came about getting involved in real estate. You bought your first apartment, your first home. You renovated these places. You developed them. You flipped them. And then here we are now. We're doing it up in cottage country. So tell us a little bit about that.
Do you know, it's a weird thing, isn't it? You know, I think we both moved into like our first apartment together, and we wanted to buy the apartment in Canada Court, this block that Justin was talking about. We wanted to buy the apartment on the second floor, 2 bedrooms, a great view over the city, but we couldn't afford it. And it was the costly price of £35,000 back in the day.
Which is like about 65, right?
Yeah,
60,
exactly.
70.
So we couldn't afford that. So we bought this 1 bedroom at the back of the building, overlooking the bins. You could see all the garbage and whatever. And it needed like a serious renovation. And we were suddenly in this apartment and we were like, okay, what do we do now? And so they were ripping out a burger restaurant at the top of the road. So we saw this stuff coming out there. So
salvaged it, didn't you?
Yeah, we got loads of big mirrors and we got like a fridge for
Yeah.
the kitchen. And we just pieced it together. But when we actually stood back and looked at it, it was gorgeous. And we sold that, we bought that for 26,000 and we sold it for 46,000 like months later. And we were like, we should do that again.
Yeah.
So then we did it again. We did it again. We then got the apartment that we wanted, you know, not by overcommitting ourselves, but just by using our skills and by then
being smart about
reinvesting
it
that.
too, yeah.
And it's weird. And then, like as Justin mentioned, we did a show called The £1 Million Property Experiment. That was on the BBC. It was our big breakthrough show, and it sold to like 45 territories. And it was about property flipping. So we allowed the cameras to follow us for 2.5 years. We bought a property for £100,000, which was the national average at that point in Britain. It was in Birmingham, England. We renovated it, flipped it, sold for a profit, and moved up the property ladder. And the goal of the programme was to see if we could end up in a house that was worth £1 million.
Yeah,
£1 million.
Yeah, so $2 million.
Well, exactly. So within 7 moves, we sold the last house.
Yeah.
It was in Belgravia in London for 1.4 million, and then we paid back our loans and all our mortgages and whatever, and we gave a children's charity £400,000. Gave them the profit. So it was weird that suddenly, like, you know, the art kind of imitated life, and we were afforded the opportunity to do what we'd been doing prior to that, but on TV.
And it's wonderful seeing you guys in action because you do love what you do, and there's great synergy between the two of you too, which is hysterical. You're a lot of fun. But Justin, you got to tell us the difference though, because it is real estate. At the end of the day, our real estate here, you're learning there are differences. Even our terminology can be very different compared to back at home. So give us some of those subtleties. What's so different?
I mean, you guys have really big houses and you tend to have them on small plots of ground. It's the complete opposite in Britain. We have really big gardens and tiny houses.
That's right.
I don't understand the mathematics of that because Britain's small, Canada's massive. So you'd think it'd be the other way around. So
we have a long winter. You don't want to be out gardening for
you're
6 months of the
absolutely
year.
right. You're absolutely right.
Just saying.
Now, based as we are in Toronto, we've seen this incredible exponential growth in property values. We got lucky ourselves. We bought our place 7.5 years ago when we got here, our condo in the city, and it's done really well. And we see all these people who've done incredibly well, who've become property millionaires without even trying. We had to work our socks off in Britain to do that show, but people in Canada could probably do it. In fact, maybe we should birth an idea.
There you go. New show.
Version.
Well, do you know what we need to do? If we're going to talk about Toronto property, here's my bugbear. Property bubble.
Bugbear is meaning this is your
thing that
pet
annoys
peeve?
pet peeve.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Property bubbles. Okay, there's a bubble of property. You know, people talk about this. When's the bubble going to burst in Toronto
that's our
in
job.
the condo market?
We have to dumb it down and tell them it's not
here's the
happening.
thing. You know, bubbles are artificially inflated. There is no property bubble in Toronto because there is a natural source of people coming to the city who have
100,000
money
a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not artificial. Okay, so people, please no more talk about bubbles. There's a buoyant property scene here in Canada. Period.
I think that's absolutely right. We had lunch before we met you
you.
today with a really fantastic friend of ours, Gail Beebe, who was previously our editor at the condo section at the Star. She knows you. We talked about you. She knows you guys. And she is so excited to watch the continued growth in the Canadian market. It's done so well. At Toronto, everything that we see, it seems to be going to sealed bids and closing dates, and we call them closing dates in Britain. Sealed bids and the
multiple
downside,
offers is what we're talking about.
Yeah, the downside, of course, is that people who should be able to afford a particular area are often outbid. And we know a young doctor who's worked really hard in his profession for years. He can't buy a house in Leslieville, do you know?
But let's also talk about the fact that it's a healthy market because it's not one of those marketplaces where it's big peaks and valleys where it's gone up high. Because when you go up high, you're going to be coming back down.
For sure.
We've run out of land in terms of people wanting to be near that GTA core. As a result, just like any major city, let's look at Paris, let's look at anything that, they have to build up. You can no longer build out. But there still are products out there that are available for people at different price points. And I think that's important to mention. It just might not be the McMansion that you could have done 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And there are all sorts of shared ownership schemes as well. There's people doing gap site housing as well, which is as you say, there's such a lack of space. But Toronto is on target to become a super city. It could be the next New York, the next Shanghai. Because it's all here. All the groundwork's here.